All right, let's talk about one of the world's most famous, and let's be honest, most misunderstood texts. We're going to take a fresh, modern look at the Kama Sutra, and our guide for this is the absolutely brilliant and wonderfully direct sex expert Tracy Cox.
So, when I say Kama Sutra, what's the very first thing that pops into your head? For pretty much everyone, it's this image of a super complicated manual, full of these pretzel-like acrobatic sex positions that look, well, completely impossible for us mortals. But is that what it's really all about?
Yeah, not so fast. According to our guide, Tracy Cox, that's not it at all. She's super clear about this. The popular image we all have in our heads, it's a total myth. And because of that myth, we're missing out on all the real wisdom that's hiding inside this ancient text.
So, if it's not a sex gymnastics manual, then what the world is it? Let's get past all those tangled limbs and dive into what this book is actually trying to teach us.
Okay, here's the biggest takeaway right up front. The Kama Sutra is really a guide to living a good life, a life where love and pleasure are right at the center. It was put together ages ago by an Indian sage, and get this, out of its 7 different sections, only one of them is actually about sex positions. The rest? It covers everything from how to court someone to how to build a happy, lasting relationship.
Now, trying to make sense of all this ancient wisdom for our lives today can be tricky. That's why we're turning to Tracy Cox. She has, and I love this phrase, dusted off these old texts with a totally modern, clever, and honestly, really fun spin.
And what's so great about her approach is she doesn't just stick to the Kama Sutra. She actually blends the best ideas from it with wisdom from other ancient Eastern traditions, to give us the whole picture.
So first up, there's Tantra. This is a spiritual practice that's been around for over 5,000 years, and it looks at sex as something, well, divine. The whole idea is to move this powerful energy, called kundalini, through your body to reach this incredible state of ecstasy.
And then you've got Taoism. This is a Chinese philosophy that's all about balance. Taoists believe sex is absolutely essential for our total well-being, physically, spiritually, you name it. Why? Because it's how we balance our masculine yang and feminine yin energies.
So, okay, we've got these really deep, ancient philosophies. But how does any of this actually apply to our lives, right now? What's practical, and what's just a little too out there?
And this is where Tracy Cox's modern filter is just so helpful. She is not afraid to call out the stuff that's just plain outdated. She gives us this super clear roadmap for what still works today and what really, really doesn't. So in the What Works column, it's all about putting the soul back into sex. It celebrates foreplay, and it reminds us that sex isn't just a race to the finish line. It's about variety and excitement. But the What Doesn't column, Cox basically says, let's ditch things like discouraging male orgasm, these pointless and super long rituals, and a totally baffling lack of focus on oral sex for women. So see, the point here isn't to go out and learn 100 physically impossible positions. Nope. It's about upgrading the simple things you already do to make them more connected, way more creative, and a whole lot more pleasurable. And where's a better place to start than the kiss? The Kama Sutra and these other texts, they treat kissing like it's a serious art form with dozens of techniques. But there's one in particular that really stands out. It's called the Uttara Chambita. So tantrics believe there's a direct connection between a woman's clitoris and the frenulum. That's that little piece of tissue connecting your upper lip to your gum. The technique involves him focusing suction right on that spot, with the idea that it can actually lead to an orgasm. I mean, whether it works for you or not, it's a pretty sexy idea, right?
And this whole philosophy of adding variety, it goes way beyond just kissing. These ancient texts give us these simple but really powerful ways to shake up intercourse and manual stimulation, breaking you out of those same old ruts. Take a technique called churning. Instead of the typical in and out motion, he holds his penis at the base and moves it in circles. It's such a simple little change, but it creates a completely different kind of friction and a totally new sensation. Or what about the corkscrew? For this, you use 2 hands and you move them in opposite directions as you slide up the shaft. Again, it's a really simple technique that can turn a standard hand job into something way more dynamic and interesting.
Okay, we can't really talk about the Kama Sutra without getting into one of its, let's just say, more eccentric parts. The author was pretty obsessed with compatibility, and that included a very specific and, frankly, kind of hilarious take on genital size.
He basically classified men as hares, bulls, or stallions, and women as does, mares, or elephants. An equal union was a hare with a doe, a bull with a mare, and so on.
Yes, the animal names are just wonderfully bizarre, and no, we probably shouldn't take this part too seriously.
But okay, what if you are a so-called lopsided pair, like a hare with an elephant? Well, this is where Cox brings in some modern, practical advice. Things like using positions that allow for deeper penetration, changing the angle with pillows, or having her keep her thighs together or squeeze her pelvic floor muscles to create a tighter fit. See? Real solutions.
So, after going through ancient techniques, spiritual ideas, and some quirky classifications, what's the single most important lesson we can pull from this modern guide to the Kama Sutra?
And this, right here, brings us to the ultimate point. It's not about some magic position or secret formula. The real wisdom from all these ancient texts is that a great sex life doesn't just happen. It takes actual, conscious effort, it takes creativity, and it takes a real commitment to keeping things exciting and connected.
And that kind of leaves us with the final thought to chew on. Maybe we've all been looking for this secret in the wrong place? What if the key to truly transforming your sex life isn't about what your bodies are doing, but about the attention, the care, and the creativity you bring to the whole experience? What if it's not a new position, but a whole new perspective,